I'm um, I'm the CEO and founder JCVs. So I'm glad this evening to have you on board. I know Nairobi, especially for us in Nairobi, the weather is not so friendly, and that's why you can see some of us are very. We have so many clothes on ourselves. So this evening we have a very special speaker, someone that understands what most of us, some of the things that most of us get in the interview. In part of our interviews, assessment has become one of the things that most employers are using now to be able to gauge your suitability for opportunities. And this is because sometimes we find job seekers that are very good, have good skills at the back office, but they cannot be able to really express themselves during an interview. And so you end up having psychometric tests, the assessments. And so you have an expert in the house. And allow me to just read the speaker's profile, even as we welcome him. I know he has so much content for us tonight, and I believe that we give him much time to be able to share his knowledge. Our speaker tonight is none other than one Mr. Shim Asava. Mr. Shim is a talent consultant and psychometric expert who helps organizations unlock their potential, unlock one of their most powerful and often underutilized assets, their people. So his work sits at the intersection of psychology, behavior, and performance, where he uh, decodes how human. Sorry, I'm just adding some people in the decodes how human traits, emotional patterns, and workplace dynamics shape their teams think, behave, and deliver results. So, through psychometric insight and organizational consulting, he partners with leaders to design environments that intentionally drive the right behaviors that strengthen employee well being, deepen engagement, and elevate performance across all levels of the organization. His core belief is simple but powerful. When organizations understand people beyond job titles, when they understand motivation, mindset, and emotional drivers, they stop managing output and start enabling potential. In his work, he helps organizations not only get the best from their people, but also ensure people are getting the best from their organizations. So, creating a two-way relationship built on clarity, trust, and performance. And I'm sure that uh, when he talks about organizations stop managing output and start enabling potential, this is something that most organizations are really struggling with. Most organizations still treat their employees as liabilities, which is a reason why sometimes we might not be able to uh, ensure potential. And that's where now organizations are managing the output, and they instead of them enabling potential. So allow me to you can react on the with the reaction from your side to welcome our speaker. Maybe you can clap as we welcome our speaker. Karibu sana Shim. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay and JCV and the entire team for this opportunity to be able to be of value to your audience and your community. And I really like to commend first of all the great work that you are doing of equipping professionals and also job seekers to better position themselves to be able to achieve their career goals and objectives, despite all the hardships and the economic situation that we have in this country. And I'd like to encourage you continue doing the good work, and I'm sure JCVs is going to even greater heights. So I'm just going to go straight to business that we have at hand. And of course, the title for our webinar is Understanding Personality and Workplace Behavior and How We Can Unlock Individual Strengths for Career Success. And if I can simply put it, we can leverage personality assessments to get to know ourselves better what are our strengths, what are our weaknesses. Once we have that awareness, then we can know on how we can capitalize our strengths. When you know your strengths as an individual, you know, most job seekers and most professionals, they know their strengths. The strength that they have is their technical expertise, but they don't know there are some additional strengths that they bring into the workplace other than their technical expertise. And that is what personality assessments they seek to bring to make aware the various professionals that are in the job market. So other than your technical expertise, you're going to understand what are the other additional values that you're going to bring into the workspace. Once you have this understanding, once you have this awareness, then you are going to even to see that your confidence is going to skyrocket, and it is going to go a long way in progressing your career, even according to your objectives and your goals. So in today's webinar, we are going to discover our unique personality style. We are going to understand how you interact with others, how you can leverage your strengths and work, and how you can use it to achieve greater career success. So we are going to go straight to definition. What is personality, so that we make sure we are on the same page. Personality is the consistent pattern of thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that influence how we interact with people, solve problems, make decisions, and respond to our environment. In fact, there are very many organizations that are becoming more aware to they need to know personality. In fact, there are some organizations, before they hire you, even if they decide to hire you, the first thing they're going to do, they're going to give you a personality assessment so that they can have a projection, they can have an idea on how you behave. Once they know how you behave, then they can know how they can interact with you. They know how they can create an environment that is conducive for you to bring out your best into the workplace. And before even getting employment, getting to know your personality, it will position you to build your confidence and know what is it that you are bringing of value to the organization, especially when you are in interview situations. So your personality is basically your natural way of behaving. When you know your personality, then we can be able to predict how we are going to behave in the workplace. And that is why many organizations are becoming more aware on the need to do personality assessment. So your personality basically influences very many things about you, from the way you work, from the way you engage with others. Basically, your personality influences the way you communicate. How you communicate when you are stressed, how you communicate when you are motivated is a function of your personality. Different people with different personalities, they communicate in different styles whenever they are stressed or whenever they are motivated. Your personality also influences the way you make decisions. It influences the way you solve problems. It also influences the way you lead other people. It also influences the way you collaborate with other people. It determines what actually stresses you, especially at work. And also it influences the way, it determines what motivates you. It influences the way you manage your time. It has a say on how you adapt to change, how you relate with customers, and also it has a major influence on your relationships with your workmates. And also, I might add that your personality not only affects your workplace relationships and your workplace effectiveness, but also affects your relationships at home and even with your friends and your relations outside the workplace. So your personality basically affects your relationships at work and even at home. Even for those people who are in marriage, your personality will be able to dictate the kind of relationship that you're going to have with your spouse, the kind of relationship you're going to have even with your children. And those individuals one thing about our personality is that our personality has its we call them productive behaviors or its strengths. And also your personality has its, we call them unproductive behaviors, or we call it downsides. And these one usually come into play whenever we don't get exactly what we want or whenever we are stressed. So even at home, when it comes to relationships between your spouse and even between your children, you'll discover that individuals who are not aware of the downsides of their personality, they end up damaging the relationships that they have with their spouses and also they have with their children, and also with their peers and with their relations outside there. And also not having an understanding of the downsides of your personality can also affect the kind of relationships that you're going to have in the workplace. And we all know that we might have the technical expertise, but it is the quality of our relationships at work that determines how far we progress in our career, right from the moment of interview to the point of separation or when you are resigning. The quality of relationships that you have with your workmates and different stakeholders at the workplace is going to determine how fast you're going to progress across your career ladder. And one thing I like to advise, especially job seekers, whenever you are called into an interview, that is the first step and opportunity to begin to build a relationship. Yeah. So you don't just go there as someone who's just looking for a job. The first thing you need to do once you step into the workplace, figure out a way on how you are going to build a strong relationship. And the first step you need to do when you're building a relationship, especially when you are in an interview situation, the first thing you need to do is you have to build trust. And one of the ways you build trust is by exuding confidence. And you cannot exude confidence if you are not aware of your strengths and the value that you are bringing into the workplace. Yeah. And personality assessments are one of the tools that are outside there that can give you awareness of the strengths that you have other than your technical expertise. What are some of the values that you are bringing? What are some of the advantages that you're bringing into the workplace other than your technical expertise? In fact, one of the many questions everyone who has ever attended an interview has been asked is, tell me more about yourself. And having an awareness of your personality will go a long way in getting you to know who you are as an individual. And most interviewers, they ask that question to see, to determine the level of your self-confidence in yourself. So your personality determines whether people trust you or not, whether people want to work with you or not, whether leaders want to recommend you, whether customers buy from you, and even whether you become promotable. Your personality has a say in all these important milestones in the life of every professional. So we are just going to highlight a few of the personalities that we have in the workplace. And I'm sure as we do that, many people are going to begin to map themselves along those personality styles. And once you have that awareness, you're going to begin to know, even now, you're going to discover that you're getting to know yourself better. So there are 4 distinct personality styles in the workplace. There is the dominant style, there is the influential style, there is the support style or steady style, and also we have the conscientious style. So I'm just going to go through a brief overview of the D style so that you can understand how it influences your behavior and also give you a picture of the value that you bring into the organization. So individuals who are D style, these are people who are result-oriented. When they're in the workplace or even at home, they want to see results. When they're at home, when they give an order, when they say, I want food, they want it to be executed immediately. If they don't see their demand coming, they start becoming stressed. They start overreacting. So this is how people who are dominant behave. They are result-oriented. And there are people who thrive on challenges and they take charge of things to make them happen. So one thing about people who are dominant is that their strength is that they are very decisive. There are people who are very confident. There are people who are very courageous. There are people who are very competitive. In fact, there are those organizations whereby many people are very competitive. Yeah, and if you are not at this style, you might find it quite difficult to fit into that environment. And people who are this style, there are people who like taking initiatives. They like to drive change. They kind of like to challenge the status quo. They like to solve problems quickly. Whenever there's a challenge, they want it solved. They are willing to take risks and they are willing to make difficult situations. But just like I said, there are those things that motivate each and every one of us according to our personality styles. When someone is at this style, whenever they see a challenge, they are motivated to solve it. Whenever they are put into a place of authority, they become very motivated because they know they're going to use that authority to get results that they want to see. There are people who really thrive in autonomy. There are people who they don't like to be micromanaged. They want to be given the space to execute. And the people who like winning and they like seeing fast results. In fact, that is one of a major trait about people who are dominant styles. They want fast results. Whenever they don't see results coming as fast as they would like to, they start becoming stressed. So what are some of the things that stresses people who are dominant styles? They don't like bureaucracy. There's a lot of structure. Because they want things to happen quickly. You know, where there's a bureaucracy, there is things move slowly because you have to wait for someone to approve and all that. People who are this style, they like to see things moving. You'll discover in the work, you'll discover employers sometimes they say, "Mimi nataka mtu chap chap." When they say "Mimi nataka mtu chap chap," they mean someone who's at this style. Yeah. So these are people, whenever things move slowly, they start becoming stressed. If there's something they are waiting from you, if there is an email or a document they're waiting from you, and they don't see it coming as fast as they like it to come, they start becoming stressed. And when they're stressed, you start seeing their destructive or unproductive behaviors. They're stressed when there is indecisiveness. You really don't know exactly what you want. You are undecided and they're dealing with you. They start becoming stressed because they see you as an hindrance towards getting results. They don't like micromanagement and they hate unnecessary meetings. Too much meetings, they see it as a hindrance towards achieving their goals, because these are people who like to execute. They like to execute. So if you are a D style and you are in an interview, and then the interviewer asks you, "Tell me more about yourself." If you have the results of your personality assessment, then you can say, "Me, I am a result-oriented engineer. I'm a result-oriented customer service a professional who has a high affinity towards achieving results. I like facing challenges. I like working with autonomy, and I like getting quick results." So whenever you are in an interview situation and you have the awareness of your personality style, you are able to showcase some of the values that you are bringing into the work in faster execution and generating fast results. So other than your engineering skills and your sales skills, you are able to demonstrate with scientific evidence that you are able to bring quick and fast results. These are some of the things that enable you to become more employable. Yeah. There's a saying that says that technical skills, they get you the interview, but it is soft skills that get you the job. So these are some of the soft skills, just like Sheila has said, that enables you to secure that job. Everyone has done a degree. Everyone is an engineer. What else do you bring into the table? Do you know what else you are bringing into the organization? So those are some of the skills. Once you have that awareness, then you are better at positioning yourself as a good candidate for that particular job. So under pressure, when they don't see results, when they are something they're expecting from you and it's not coming, you'll discover they become very impatient, they become aggressive, they begin shouting at you in the workplace. They begin getting angry at you. They start controlling you, they start pushing you, they even start intimidating you, and they are actually poor listeners. At this point, they cannot even hear whatever excuse that you're giving them, because they have already perceived you as a hindrance towards getting their results. And because of this particular behavior, people who are D styles, they tend to damage relationships that they have with their colleagues in the workplace. They are not very good at delegating, and they tend to create an atmosphere of fear, and this kills team engagement. And one of the things that enables a professional to progress across the career ladder is the quality of relationships that you have. So someone who's at this style, when they are stressed or when they come under pressure, they have a tendency of destroying those relationships, which they are going to need whenever they want to progress in their career. So what is the kind of advice that we'll give to people who are this style? Results may earn you recognition, but relationships earn you influence. You need to master both so that your career will accelerate. So that is one of the things that your personality assessment gives you an awareness of. So whenever you're going into the workplace, whenever you're looking for a job, you already know where your strengths are and you already know where your weaknesses are. so that you can work on your weaknesses so that they do not sabotage your career once you get a job. So if you're at this style, you already know that there is a tendency that you have of damaging relationships. Even before you are finished probation, you have already started damaging relationships with some of your colleagues. So the chances of you being confirmed are very high. But once you have this awareness, then you can begin to manage yourself so that you can have effective work relationships that are going to secure your career objectives and your career goals. What are some of the famous people who have this particular style? We have Elon Musk, is a strong D. We have Steve Jobs. We have Sheryl Sandberg, Michael Jordan, and Jack Welch. These are people whom you can already see. They have a high drive towards getting results. So the other style in the workplace is the I style, or the influential style. So these are people, in one word, these are people who are people oriented. They are people focused. They are very optimistic. They are very energetic, and they thrive on interaction and interacting and inspiring others. These are people who are very good at forging workplace relationships. And one of their strengths is that they are very persuasive. They are very optimistic. They're energetic, they're inspirational, they are very good at building relationships, they are very creative, enthusiastic, and they love networking. These are people who are very good at interacting with people. You throw such a person in a sales role, they'll work very, very, very well. And the things that motivate them is recognition, jobs that involve working with people. They thrive in freedom, excitement, and being visible. Yeah. But some of the things that stresses them is isolation. When they're not in a place where there are people, they don't thrive very well in a job that involves a lot of routine. They don't thrive well in rejection and negative people. And whenever they're under pressure, these are people who like to seek approval from others. They are people who are, like, for lack of a better word, they're emotionally needy. They want to feel like they're approved. One of the tendencies they have is they tend to overpromise and they end up under delivering. They're very good at promising, but when it comes to delivering, they have a challenge. These are some of the weaknesses that people who are I style have. And they tend to become easily distracted. Anything that can just happen, they become distracted, and they tend to act impulsively, and they tend to be very disorganized, and they struggle to follow through to the commitments that they make. And as a result, people may enjoy working with them because they are very excellent people skills, but people struggle to trust them. Whenever they promise you anything, people don't trust them. So these are some of the strengths that an I style have, and also the weaknesses. If you're an I style and you are aware of the weaknesses you have, whenever you go into the workplace, you already know how you can manage your weaknesses so that you can become an effective employee that is going to enable you to progress in your career ladder. If you know your strengths, then you know the confidence that you are bringing. When you are in an interview, you can be asked to tell us about yourself. You can say that your personality is an influential personality. You are someone who's very persuasive. You are very optimistic. You believe in possibilities. You are very good at forging workplace relationships. This enables you to collaborate and work with people very well. You thrive, you network very well, and you're very enthusiastic. So these are some of the additional value that you're bringing into the organization other than the technical expertise that you have. Everyone has a degree, everyone has a diploma, but what else are you bringing into the table? Do you know what else you're bringing into the organization? So a personality assessment enables you to learn more about yourself. What are some of the behaviors that sabotage you, and what are some of the behaviors that support you? So the areas that this style sabotages your career is that you tend to promise too much, but you don't deliver. Some people in the workplace might not take you seriously. If you're working under a boss, you don't miss you have a problem missing your deadlines. This kind of behavior can sabotage your career. But if you are aware of this, then you can begin to work on yourself so that you can become an employee who executes and delivers on their requirements. Also, they tend to avoid having difficult conversations. When someone is not working with you very well, when there's a challenge, you don't want to confront problems that you have. They like to seek approval. They tend to lose focus and ignore details. They're not detail oriented, and they tend to overcommit. So you might you miss some details that are very critical in the execution of your job. So these are some of the behaviors that are unproductive that can sabotage your career. If you are aware of these behaviors, then you are empowered to manage them and to make yourself better. One thing I can say is that despite the various personality styles, their weaknesses and their strengths, you can be able to manage yourself better once you have this awareness. And that's why we encourage people to have a personality assessment so that they can get to know what are some of the weaknesses they have that can sabotage their career, so that they can begin to work on them and make themselves better and develop themselves. So what advice do we give to such individuals? Your ability to inspire people is your greatest gift. But if you pair it with discipline and follow through, you will become unstoppable in your career. So you'll need additional skills on how you can hold yourself, you can discipline yourself and follow through on your commitments so that you can become a trustworthy employee and you can be able to become reliable in the workplace. Famous people who have a high style. We have Oprah Winfrey, we have Richard Branson, we have Tony Robbins, Simon Sinek, Brene Brown. These are very influential people. Why am I putting some of the famous people who have these styles? Is to prove to you that despite the weaknesses of your personality style or the downsides of your personality style, we don't like to use that weaknesses, because weaknesses is actually an opportunity to become better. So the reason why we are highlighting famous people with this style is to show you that despite the downsides of your personality style, you can still become successful in your career, in your business, and in all endeavors, and also in your relationships that you have with people at home and even at work. The next personality style is the S style. These are people who are very steady and they are very supportive. Their personalities are calm. They are people who are very dependable. They are people focused. They value harmony, cooperation, and stable environments. They thrive very well in such environments. Their strength is that they are very reliable. They are very patient, supportive, good listener, loyal, calm, collaborative, and dependable. Whenever you delegate to them, you can be rest assured that they're going to meet that deadline. They are motivated by stability. They are motivated by teamwork, working with people, they are very good. They are motivated by appreciation. When you appreciate them, they deliver very well. They like working in the environments that are predictable and also in helping others. What stresses them is that whenever there's conflict, they are thrown into a tailspin. Whenever there is a sudden change into the workplace, these are the people who end up being lost. For example, we have over the few decades, we have gone through various transformations on how work is done. We underwent the digital transformation, where people were coming from paper-based work to electronic work. You'll discover that such people who are S-styles, so whenever there was a digital transformation, most of them ended up being rendered, what can I use? They were declared redundant because they were not able to adapt to the change that has happened. The thing with that people who are S-style, they take a long time to adapt to any changes that happen in the workplace. Whenever there's a change in organization structure, there's a change, whenever there's a sudden change in the organization, in the way things, perhaps they were working with a typewriter. When you bring a computer, they have a challenge adapting to that new way of working. And so these are some of the things that really stresses them. They don't work well whenever there's pressure. They don't work well with people who are aggressive, and they don't work well with uncertainty. They are like working in environments when there is predictability. Under pressure, they become very sensitive to criticism. They take things very personal. They withdraw and avoid confrontation. They resist change and cling to the familiar. When you bring a computer, they still want to continue working with the typewriter. They slow down and become very indecisive whenever there is a sudden change into the workplace. So these are some of the weaknesses such individuals have in the workplace and also outside the workplace. So if you are an S-style and you are looking for work and you are aware of some of the weaknesses that you have, then you can begin to work on yourself so that you can be able to adapt to change faster. Yeah. Right now, we are undergoing the AI revolution. It is changing the way things work. Positions are being declared redundant. So professionals are required to upskill themselves on how to use AI so that they can be able to execute their jobs faster. So if you're an A-style and you are aware of these weaknesses, then you are empowered to begin to manage yourself and to equip yourself to become more relevant in the workplace. So it is very important for someone to know some of the weaknesses that they have in how they work and how they operate in the work environment. So the things that sabotage their career is that they avoid conflict. You know, in the workplace, conflict is not necessarily a bad thing. There is what we call productive conflict, and we call the unproductive conflict. So whenever there is trust between teams, conflict becomes productive. But someone who's an A style, they don't like disagreeing. Yeah. So they avoid conflict. Wacha tu maneno ipite, mistaki maneno mingi. They have that kind of mentality. They struggle to say no. They're not very assertive. They accept too much work. They avoid visibility. This is one of the major downsides of someone who's an A style. They don't like, they're not outspoken people. There are people, whenever they are in the room, you cannot easily notice them. And they remain silent during meetings. And being visible is a very important requirement if you want to progress in your career. You might be very good at your work, but if you are not visible, you cannot be noticed for promotions. So one of the disadvantages, the downsides of A style, they don't like being visible. And if you want to progress in your career, then you'll have to address this challenge. And this is why personality assessments, they uncover some of these behaviors that we have that can sabotage our career, so that we can begin to work on ourselves so that we can progress. Yeah. You'll notice there are some people, they have stayed in an organization, they are very skilled, they are very good at their work, but there are some people who are coming from behind them, they are being promoted 1 hour Peter, but how they are remaining in the same place. It is because they are not very visible in the workplace. They remain silent during meetings. Whenever they have an idea, they don't like speaking up. Yeah. So at the end of the day, they are not very visible. All right. So if you are an A style, you better be aware of this so that you can begin to work on yourself. That is why it is very, very important for every professional outside there. If you want to progress in your career, you must know the strengths and the downsides of your personality style, because your personality style might be sabotaging your career success and you don't know about it. So that is why personality assessment and knowing yourself is a very important requirement if you're going to succeed in your workplace. What advice do we give to people who are A style? Don't mistake comfort for growth. The career you are dreamed of often begins just outside your comfort zone. You need to begin to speak up. You need to become visible in the workplace. Speak out, learn to say no. Whenever there is conflict, embrace it as a way of making things to become better in the workplace, and you're going to see yourself progressing very well. Famous people, we have Princess Diana, Fred Rogers, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and Keanu Reeves. C-style, as I'm going to wrap up on the last style, C-style, these are people who are detail-oriented, they're analytical and quality-driven. When you're in an interview, you are asked, tell us about yourself. If you know your personality style and if you're a C-style, you will say, I am a C-style. I am detail-oriented. I bring a lot of analytical value in the workplace. I'm quality-driven. I strive for accuracy and excellence. If you know the value you're bringing into the workplace, it gives you confidence. When you're confident, the chances of you building trust with the people who are interviewing you are very high. Remember, people hire people that they feel like they can trust. Mtu ambaye amejiamini. Na kama haujiamini, if you don't know yourself, if you don't know your strengths, then how can you be confident in yourself? That is the role personality assessments can play in enabling you achieve your career goals. We have said that their strengths is they're analytical, they're very organized, they're very logical, they're detail-oriented. You remember there are those jobs, whenever they're advertising on the job description, they say we want someone who's detail-oriented. So whenever you're applying for such a job, you can come up with your personality assessment as proof and say that I have a personality assessment that has been done by Everything Disc that shows that I am detail-oriented, and that shows that I'm more qualified for this particular role. So those are some of the advantages that you can leverage from knowing your personality style. The people who are C-style, they're quality focused. They have a biasness towards achieving quality work. Very objective, very disciplined, and they're very good at solving problems. They are motivated by jobs that require accuracy, facts, preparation, quality, and expertise. Some of the things that stresses them is chaos. Where there is poor planning, they become very stressed. They value logic over emotion. They hate last minute changes, and they hate working in a place whereby there is unclear expectations. So these are some of the things that stresses them. Yeah, and some of this information employers they like having when like having when they are working with employees, because they get to know what are some of the things that makes this employee not work well. So if you're a C-style, the HR knows that this guy, whenever expectations are not clear, this guy cannot deliver. Yeah. So they go the extra mile. They teach their line managers on how to give clear expectations so that the employees and the direct reports can work well. So that's why even people in human resource management, people in leadership, they use these personality assessments so that they can know how well they can work with you, so that they can know the kind of environment they can create for you, so that you can execute the strength and the value that you're bringing into the organization. Under pressure, these people tend to overthink every decision. Even when you give them a suggestion, they will analyze it before they accept it. Someone who's a D style, they already know the solution. But a C style will stay with it, analyze it, overthink it before they make a decision. And as a result, they delay making decisions. They become very cautious. These are people who are very cautious. Yeah, a decision needs to be made. A customer is waiting something there, but them they are very cautious in making a decision because they fear making mistakes, and they want perfection in every work that they do. So sometimes these behaviors they can kill customer satisfaction. They can make you miss your deadlines. They can result in you becoming a bottleneck in the workplace. And when the organization tries to look why are things not moving as fast as we want them to move, then they discover that you are the one who's a problem. So if you are C-style and you are aware, you become aware of some of these downsides of your behavior, then you can begin to work on yourself so that you do not become a bottleneck in the workplace, so that you're not becoming the reason as why things are not moving very fast in the workplace. So some of this information can enable you become more employable. They can enable you to work well with people in the organization, and also to scale in the career ladder. What are some of the things that sabotages their career? They overthink, they delay, they fear making mistakes, they're perfectionist, they tend to criticize others, and they resist change. And there's something that is called analysis paralysis. Over analysis, they make them not to make a step and not make a decision. What advice are we giving them? Excellence is your strength, yes, but perfection can become your limitation. Progress creates opportunities that perfection never will. So you have to balance your need for perfection with your need for progress. Famous people: Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Stephen Hawking, Angela Merkel, former Chancellor of Germany, and Natalie Portman. So regardless of your personality style, you can become successful. And how do you become successful? Is by leveraging on your strengths and turning your weaknesses into more strengths. And if you do that, you are going to achieve your career goals. What is the hidden career advantage? You can use the insights of your personality assessments to build trust with the people you work with, because people promote people they trust, people promote people they respect, people promote people they enjoy working with, they promote people that they believe in, and they promote people they feel safe working around. Once you know the strengths of your personality and the weaknesses, then you can use it to build effective workplace relationships that enable you to build trust with stakeholders in the organization. You can use it to build respect. You can be someone who people enjoy working with. For example, someone who's a D style, people might not really enjoy to work with them, because these are not people who are very unaware of people's emotions, because they are over focused on achieving results. So in the process of achieving results, they step on people's emotions. Yeah. So once you know some of the downsides of your personality style, then you can use it to make yourself someone who people enjoy working with. You can use it to make people believe in you. If you're a D style, If you are an I style, you already know your strengths, you know how to leverage your strengths so that people can believe more on you, thereby increasing the chances of you being promoted. Also, people promote people they feel safe working around. Yeah. So you can use the insights of your personality assessment so that you can create some level of psychological safety with the people that you are working with. So as I'm going to wrap up, what are some of the things that you can do as a professional? We have the everything disc assessment that you can take where so that you can get to know exactly what your personality style is. Because despite the four personality styles I've showed you, we are a mix of each and every of the four styles, but there are some styles which are very strong compared to others. Like, for example, me, I am a DI. Most of my strengths are in the D and the I region. The C and the S, I'm very, very weak. But once I know my personality, then I can use it to build effective relationships. So if you like to take a personality assessment and learn how you can use it to progress your career, they usually go for 9,000 Kenya shillings. And also we have a course that is called Improving Personal Effectiveness with DISC. This course gives you a personality assessment and also teaches you on how you can turn the downsides or the weaknesses of your personality into becoming strengths so that you can become a very effective professional who works very well in the workplace and delivers results. So at this point, I'm going to throw it back to Jay and Sheila. So in case there are any questions, then we'll be in a position to address them. Thank you very much.
Well, we can. That was so eye-opening and very insightful. I think personally, I'm in the D and I. We can appreciate our speaker by reacting from our side, and I believe that that has been so insightful. And I'm sure most of us personally didn't know my personality, and I'm so glad that I think from this conversation, I think I can guess where I am now. So, which is your personality? Think you can write in the chat section as we try respond to some of the questions that have been highlighted. I see myself in the D, and I don't see where I belong. Can someone belong to all those personalities? I think that one Shim has responded. We are looking at anyone that has a question related to this. There's some good evening, Jay and team. Thank you for this wonderful and educative session. Kindly, if you may, I'll be very much grateful if you help me understand the following in regards to the upcoming session of Power BI and oh, that is a different training. I think that's a different training from this. With for that training, you look on the poster. There's a contact there. Yeah, you can be able to contact the number on the poster, and then they'll be able to get back to you or respond to that. Anyone with a question on this? Can childhood trauma and lived experiences affect or add on to other personalities? Him.
Yeah, of course, such issues they can have an effect on our personality. That trauma can make us kind of like some you can people who have gone through childhood trauma. They tend not to want to be very visible in the workplace. They avoid conflict. They are not very assertive. They avoid any challenges in the workplace. So it can have an effect on who they become once they grow up. And of course, once we do the personality assessment, some of these things they are going to show up. And through the various interventions that we have in the improving your personal effectiveness, then you can be able to learn on how you can undo some of those downsides that have already emanated from your background so that you can turn them into strengths and achieve your career goals. Yes, so in short, it can have an effect, but also you can be able to undo it through training. I hope I've answered.
Yeah, thank you so much. That you answered that. I think Esther, we are good with that. I see no other question, and which makes me believe that we've been able to really. The session has been so insightful, and the way you've been able to even dissect each and every style. It has been so easy for us, even for those of us that do not really grasp technical issues easily. And I believe that there being no other question, we can welcome Sheila to close for us. Ashim, maybe your contacts are the ones on the presentation.